Let's take you to the other developing story we've been tracking this Friday, back to Alexandra, north of Johannesburg, where city power officials are clamping down on illegal electricity connections. Newzroom Afrika's Nqobile Madlala is there for us. She's tracking the story. Nqobile, great to see you. Good afternoon. What's the latest there where you are? I imagine some incredibly unhappy residents.
Very unhappy. So, Michelle, we have obviously for safety reasons moved away from that area. But I want to show you the team that was on the ground. This is the team that was basically cutting down on those illegal connections that were taking place in.
All right, we do apologize for the break in the connection there. We're going to try and give it a second, see if it will stabilize, perhaps take you back to Nqobile. Is she back? Nqobile, we lost you for a second there, but please do continue. And I think perhaps just for the stability of our connection, perhaps stay as still as you can while you're telling us about the latest developments there.
Well, okay, Michelle, I do understand. I mean, it's been quite a hectic day today. I think for this team, it was very hard to interact with the people on the ground, mainly because they're frustrated by the fact that they've been asking for power for so long, but then they have resorted to other means. Stepping out of shots, I'm going to show you, these are some of the cables that were pulled out. They were pulled out from people's homes. They were pulled out in some of their places, and some of them were even on the streets. They traveled over a kilometer-long distance from formal homes into these informal homes where they were able to pull this power illegally. And some of these communities were saying that they want to pay for power. They just haven't had a chance to be able to do that. This is, of course, a housing issue. They're saying that they're not supposed to have built in that piece of land, but they had no choice but to build there because they don't have formal housing, which they say that they have asked over and over and over again about it, and nothing has happened. Now, I want to bring in Isaac Mangena to speak to us. Isaac, if you could just step here. Isaac, we know that you do this quite often, where you are going on the ground, pulling these cables, trying to ensure that there's no illegal connection that continues. I think my first question, with the operation today, how successful was it?
Thanks for having us. We had a very successful operation today, which was a little bit peaceful, even though there were some complaints from the community. But we managed to basically conduct this operation safely with the protection from the JMPD and also the SAPS and our private security. And we basically managed to pull out tons and tons of cables. Most of those cables are the cables that were stolen from our street lights, but we also have these bare wires, which are very dangerous because in that area alone there have been several electrocutions that happened this financial year and even the previous financial years, and it shows the way the area is not safe for any human habitation, but also even for the people that are moving around that area, because one of the people that was electrocuted in that area was basically a 50-year-old man who was passing by, not staying in that area, but was basically just passing around. And because of the spider web of the cables that are lying on the ground, that person was basically electrocuted. So we will continue to do this because it is very dangerous for the residents.
And I understand that also their homes are built underneath quite a heavy wire that carries quite a lot of power.
Yes, indeed. That area on its own, like we say, it's not an area that we can even think about electrifying because it's basically built under our electricity servitude. There is 88,000 volts of cables or transmission lines that are actually overhead. And already that has actually, there's one person that was electrocuted from the very same community. As you saw, those shacks are actually tall. Some of them are double-storied, and they are actually on the verge of actually reaching the line there. It's a very dangerous situation, and that's why our plan is basically to continue engaging housing so that they can find the proper housing space for those people and they can be able to be safe and have proper electricity.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. Michelle, the issue here is service delivery. The people want electricity. They also need housing. And of course, this is intertwined because in the area that they're in, they cannot get those houses to be built underneath that cable. And at the same time, they still need to live and have shelter and be able to provide for their homes. But then they've resorted to having these illegal connections, which in turn also affects the city in itself in the revenue that is supposed to be collected. But of course, then we're hearing from Isaac that this will continue to ensure that people are safer, but at the same time that there is a formal way of doing things.
So yeah, I mean, we obviously understand that, right? And we know that a lot of the debt, for example, from the part of Eskom comes from illegal connections and unpaid municipal bills. But what is the way forward here, Nqobile, for residents who have told you themselves that they want to pay for electricity, but the infrastructure isn't available where they live?
Well, it's a sad position to be in, Michelle, because Greenville Informal Settlement says that when they started, it was more than 10 years ago. So they've lived there for more than 10 years without any form of basic needs being provided for them. But of course, the piece of land that they are in is an incorrect space. So when we spoke to them, they did say that they are open to being moved. So their plea to housing is that they can be moved into formal housing, which would be RDP homes, which would be out of that space that they are in, that they don't choose to be in that space. It's mainly because they have no options. So the way out for them is to be taken out. However, whilst they still wait for the backlog of housing that could potentially see one or two of them being able to be moved, they have to live, and that's where this illegal